Hi, this is Shemi. Welcome to Shemzozo's Randoms. Today I'm going to be talking about family affairs and children. I'm going to be talking about our children. How do we bring them up in the diaspora? Most probably, I'm going to base on how do we still keep our culture that we've always had when we left Africa into a new environment. Obviously, I know some of us, we've got children that were born and raised in the diaspora, but we still got our own roots that is in Africa, and we still go back to Africa and visit our loved relatives. But my question is, our children, when we get to Africa, most of us, we sort of like get embarrassed when they say certain things that in our culture. I remember when we were being brought up, I would never ever say such things like you are silly to an adult. I would never say call an adult with their names. But it seems it's a normal norm to them in the diaspora that they call adults with names, and with us, because when we are growing up, every adult is called an uncle or an auntie, or somebody who's older than me, older than my child, we call them brother. If that was a form of respecting. But because we are in this diaspora, we call them by names. And do you think that counts to us as Africans? Does that really matter? Does that really show the difference of blood relationships, or just an uncle? Do we have to tell them? Do we have to say they should call uncles with names that are not blood related to us? The reason being is obviously when I travel in Africa, I wouldn't expect my child to call somebody with that name, because they'll actually say the child has got no respect for adults. How best can we how best can we educate our parents back in Africa? If I'm saying parents, I don't mean parents that are directly to me, but I mean parents as in our elders, that they should be in a position to understand that it is the environment that we are exposed to. And for example, again, I'll go into our children not being, for example, if a child is being naughty, back home I would take a stick or maybe discipline them, but pinching. But here in the diaspora, they call it chastising, and I'm not allowed to do that. They believe that we can actually tell a child we can only discipline a child by maybe the naughty steps or grounding them. But which works okay, but at the same time is, for example, a child that has come from Africa and then suddenly they've got a change of environment. How do you sort of like introduce the new atmosphere to them? Do you let them get exposed to this environment in the diaspora? Because it seems like a lot of children, they go astray when they get here. So as parents, as brothers, as sisters, if we could try and understand, do we need an education on that for children, that will know what exactly we can do to our children that are born in the country and that are born outside the country? And when we go back, do we still have to pretend, or do they have to change when they get to Africa to try and fit in with the community that is in Africa? Because you'll find it very difficult for our children to sort of like fit in, because us as parents in our homes, we have lost that value of teaching them. Or we teach them, but then we cannot discipline them in a way to say, this is not right, this is right, because we feel like, oh, my child is losing out on certain things that are happening in the diaspora. So I don't know what you guys think, but you are free to contribute, and maybe we can actually have a word there. Maybe we can sort of like have maybe we can have a focus group maybe to speak about these whole things that are happening in this diaspora. Because for example, if they had to lose me today, and they have to have an auntie that's come from Africa to come and look after them, you'll find a lot of children, they get taken away by the social services, or they get moved to different families, because maybe the parent from Africa does not have that tradition that's in the diaspora tradition to discipline a child, and they only know our own tradition way of disciplining. That's also become very difficult for our elders to visit us in the diaspora, because they feel like we've lost the respect for them.